Imagine a world where justice was merely a word, where the powerful dictated right and wrong on a whim, and where the common people lived at the mercy of arbitrary decisions. Now, picture the revolutionary moment when for the first time in human history, laws were carved in stone for all to see, a moment that would forever change the course of civilization. In the heart of ancient Mesopotamia, around 1750 BCE, we witness one of humanity's greatest leaps toward civilization. The city of Babylon rises like a colossus between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, its walls stretching toward the heavens, its streets bustling with merchants, priests, and craftsmen from across the known world. At this pivotal moment, King Hammurabi, the sixth ruler of the first Babylonian dynasty, has accomplished what many thought impossible. Through strategic military campaigns and diplomatic alliances, he has unified the fractured city-states of Mesopotamia into a single empire stretching from the Persian Gulf to the middle Euphrates River. The political situation of the time was complex and volatile. To the north, the Assyrian kingdoms maintained uneasy trading relationships with Babylon. To the west, various Amorite city-states vied for influence. To the south, the ancient Sumerian legacy still influenced culture and politics. To the east, the Elamites posed a constant military threat. To the southwest, Egypt's Middle Kingdom period was drawing to a close. Mesopotamia of the 18th century BCE was a remarkable fusion of cultures, Sumerian heritage, ancient religious practices, complex writing system, mathematical and astronomical knowledge, agricultural techniques, Akkadian influence, administrative systems, military organization, trade networks, linguistic contributions, Amorite elements, tribal social structures, pastoral traditions, military tactics, religious beliefs. Before the code's creation, Hammurabi spent the first 30 years of his 43-year reign strengthening Babylon's infrastructure, building and restoring temples, expanding irrigation systems, establishing diplomatic relations, gradually conquering neighboring city-states. His military conquests followed a careful pattern. First campaign, secured southern Mesopotamia. Second phase, consolidated control over the Euphrates. Final campaigns, conquered northern Mesopotamia. The Code of Hammurabi didn't emerge from a legal vacuum. Several important predecessors influenced its creation. The Code of Ur-Nammu, circa 2100 BCE, first known written legal code, established basic principles of justice. Focused on economic regulations, the laws of Lipitishtar, circa 1930 BCE, expanded family law, addressed property rights, introduced inheritance rules. The laws of Eshnunna, circa 1770 BCE, regulated trade and commerce, established price controls, defined civil liability. What made Hammurabi's code revolutionary for its time? Comprehensive scope, covered criminal and civil law, addressed all social classes, included family law, property rights, and commercial regulations. Public display, written in accessible language, publicly displayed in central locations. Copies distributed throughout the empire. Standardization, unified legal practices across the empire. Created consistent punishments. Established clear procedures. The code represented several groundbreaking concepts: rule of law, laws applied to everyone, including the powerful. Standardized legal procedures. Written records of judgments. Social justice, protection for vulnerable groups. Regulated professional conduct. Established fair trade practices. Administrative innovation, centralized legal authority. Professional judiciary. Systematic record-keeping. If you're ready to embark on this fascinating journey through ancient history, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Legacy of Empires to ensure you don't miss any of our historical adventures. Hit that notification bell to join us as we explore the foundations of human civilization. Step back in time with me to the bustling streets of ancient Babylon, where the very air you breathe tells a story of civilization at its height. The scorching Mesopotamian sun beats down on the city's broad avenues, where merchants hawk their wares and priests make their way to towering temples. The air is thick with the mingled aromas of exotic spices from distant lands, sweet incense wafting from temple courtyards, and the earthy smell of fresh bread from the city's countless clay ovens. As we walk these streets, our feet press against sun-baked brick pavements, carefully laid out in the grid system that made Babylon famous throughout the ancient world. The city's innovative urban planning features wide, straight streets, some of the first of their kind in human history. These thoroughfares are lined with buildings made of mud bricks, their walls rising 3 and 4 stories high, casting long shadows across the bustling marketplace. Dominating the skyline, the magnificent ziggurat of Etamananke reaches toward the heavens like a mountain made by human hands. Its 7 levels, each painted in different colors, create a spectacular vision against the azure Mesopotamian sky. The structure's mud brick core, faced with kiln-fired bricks, gleams in the sunlight, while its uppermost shrine, dedicated to Marduk, catches the first and last rays of each day. In the heart of this magnificent city stands the royal palace, a testament to Babylonian architectural genius. Its walls, adorned with vibrant blue-glazed tiles depicting lions, bulls, and dragons, shimmer like precious stones. The tiles were created through a complex process of glazing and firing, showcasing the remarkable technological achievements of Babylonian craftsmen. These walls have witnessed countless diplomatic meetings, judicial proceedings, and royal ceremonies. Within the palace complex, we find one of humanity's most remarkable archaeological treasures, the stele of Hammurabi's Code. This imposing monument, carved from black diorite, stands over 7 feet tall. The stone itself tells a story of ancient trade networks, as diorite was not local to Babylon but was imported from distant quarries, possibly as far as the Arabian Peninsula or modern-day Oman. The stele's surface is a masterpiece of ancient craftsmanship. The cuneiform inscriptions, numbering over 3,600 lines, were carved with remarkable precision using bronze tools, an incredible feat considering diorite's hardness. Each wedge-shaped mark was carefully planned and executed, creating one of the most significant legal texts in human history. The writing itself showcases the sophistication of Mesopotamian scribal culture, with each sign having multiple possible readings and meanings. At the stele's crown, an extraordinary relief carving captures a pivotal moment. Here, Hammurabi stands before Shamash, the sun god and divine judge. The king's pose is one of reverence but not submission. He stands upright, showing his divine mandate to rule. Shamash, seated on his throne, extends the rod and ring of justice to Hammurabi, symbols of divine authority that legitimized his earthly power. This imagery was carefully chosen to communicate both religious authority and political legitimacy to all who beheld it. The archaeological evidence surrounding the stele reveals fascinating details about its creation and use. Tool marks on its surface show the methodical process of its carving, while where patterns suggest it was frequently touched or referenced by ancient viewers. Copies of the code, found on clay tablets throughout Mesopotamia, demonstrate how widely its influence spread. These tablets, preserved through the millennia by the region's arid climate, provide invaluable insights into how the code was studied, interpreted, and applied across the empire. The creation of this monumental stele was a remarkable feat of ancient engineering. Craftsmen first had to smooth the diorite surface to a mirror finish, no small task given the stone's exceptional hardness. They then laid out the text with extreme precision. There are almost no errors or corrections visible in the final carving. The cuneiform script itself was first practiced on clay tablets before being transferred to the stone, requiring incredible skill to maintain consistency across the monument's curved surface. In the halls where this stele originally stood, scribes would gather to study its contents, copying its laws onto clay tablets for distribution throughout the empire. These same halls would have echoed with the footsteps of judges consulting its wisdom, merchants seeking to resolve disputes, and common citizens coming to understand their rights and obligations under Hammurabi's rule. Today, as we stand before this remarkable artifact in the Louvre Museum, we're not just looking at an ancient legal code, we're witnessing the birth of the rule of law, carved in stone for all eternity. The stele stands as a testament to humanity's enduring quest for justice and order, its majestic presence still commanding respect after nearly 4 millennia. At the heart of this legal revolution stands King Hammurabi himself, the 6th ruler of the first Babylonian dynasty. Let us paint a portrait of this remarkable leader as he would have appeared in his prime, around 1750 BCE. Picture a man in his early 40s, standing straight and proud despite the weight of ruling an empire. His carefully groomed beard, oiled and curled in the Babylonian style, falls to his chest in elegant tiers, each curl precisely arranged to reflect his royal status. His dark eyes, described in ancient texts as sharp and penetrating, reveal the political acumen that allowed him to unite numerous city-states under his rule. Hammurabi's royal attire speaks volumes about Babylonian wealth and craftsmanship. He wears a finely woven wool robe, dyed in the royal purple so rare in the ancient world, its edges embroidered with golden threads depicting scenes of his victories and divine favor. Around his neck hangs the royal seal, a cylinder of precious lapis lazuli imported from distant Afghanistan, carved with his name in cuneiform and symbols of his divine authority. But the story of Babylonian justice extends far beyond the king himself. In the royal courts, we find Shamash-Nasir, a high judge whose life exemplifies the profound changes brought by the new legal code. Having served in the courts for over 2 decades, Shamash-Nasir represents the emergence of a professional judicial class. His days are spent in the cool shade of the palace courtyard, where he presides over cases ranging from property disputes to criminal matters. Unlike his predecessors, who might have judged based on personal whim or bribes, Shamash-Nasir must now reference the carved laws, ensuring that his judgments align with the king's code. Through the bustling streets of Babylon, we follow Iltani, a successful merchant who has built her business trading textiles and spices. Her story illuminates the life of Babylon's growing middle class. Each morning, she leaves her 2-story house in the merchant district, making her way to her shop near the Great Market. The new code has transformed her business practices. Now, every transaction must be recorded on clay tablets, witnessed, and sealed according to law. While these requirements might seem burdensome, they protect her interests when disputes arise. Her success story demonstrates how the code's commercial regulations helped create a stable environment for trade and commerce to flourish. In the shadows of these grand figures, we find Arwium, a household slave whose life reveals yet another dimension of Babylonian society. Though his status marks him as property, Hammurabi's code offers him protections unknown in many other ancient societies. If his master mistreats him, he has legal recourse. If he is injured by another's actions, his value must be compensated. Most remarkably, the code recognizes his fundamental humanity in ways that were revolutionary for the time. Through his daily life serving in a wealthy household, we see how the code's provisions touched even those at the lowest rungs of society. These characters move through a complex social hierarchy, each level precisely defined and regulated by the code. The Awilam or noble class, represented by figures like Shamash-Nasir, enjoyed the fullest protection of the law but also faced the severest punishments for transgressions. The Mushkanim, the middle class to which Iltani belongs, had specific rights and obligations that reflected their important role in Babylon's economy. Even the Wardam, the slave class of Arwium, had legal standing and protected rights, a concept far ahead of its time. Together, these figures weave a tapestry of Babylonian society under Hammurabi's rule. The king himself serves as the living embodiment of justice, divinely appointed yet bound by his own laws. The judge Shamash-Nasir represents the practical application of these laws, turning written statutes into living justice. Iltani shows us how the code fostered commerce and created opportunities for social mobility, while Arwium reminds us that even in this hierarchical society, the law reached down to protect the most vulnerable. Their intertwined stories reveal how Hammurabi's code wasn't merely a collection of laws, but a complete vision for society. It defined relationships between classes, established clear expectations for behavior, and created a framework for justice that would influence legal systems for millennia to come. Through their eyes, we see not just the rules that governed ancient Babylon, but the human lives shaped by one of history's most important legal innovations. The Code of Hammurabi stands as more than a mere collection of laws carved in stone. In its preamble, we find the beating heart of Babylonian justice, to bring about the rule of righteousness in the land, to destroy the wicked and the evildoers, so that the strong should not harm the weak. These words, echoing across 4 millennia, reveal a revolutionary concept, that law should serve as society's great equalizer. Within the 282 laws of the Code, we discover a comprehensive blueprint for civilization. Unlike previous legal collections, Hammurabi's code sought to address every aspect of daily life in meticulous detail. Let us explore these laws through the lens of their primary categories and their practical applications in ancient Babylonian society. The code's approach to criminal justice introduced the famous principle of lex talionis, the law of retaliation, commonly known as an eye for an eye. This principle, far from promoting vengeance, actually served to limit excessive punishment. Consider Law 196. If a man destroys the eye of another man, they shall destroy his eye. This mathematical precision in punishment was revolutionary, replacing arbitrary penalties with standardized justice. The code established different punishments based on social class, yet always maintained proportionality. A noble who injured another noble faced exactly the same injury, while injuries to lower classes were compensated with silver. This system, while hierarchical, provided predictable consequences for actions, a cornerstone of any effective legal system. The code devoted considerable attention to property rights, recognizing their fundamental importance to social stability. Law 23 states, "If a robber is not caught, then the man who was robbed shall formally declare what he has lost before a god, and the city and governor shall compensate him for all that was lost." This revolutionary concept of community responsibility for unresolved crimes demonstrated a sophisticated understanding of social contract theory. Agricultural provisions revealed remarkable foresight in environmental protection. Farmers who neglected their irrigation duties faced strict penalties, while those who caused flooding through negligence had to compensate for damaged crops. These laws recognized the delicate balance between individual rights and community welfare. Perhaps most sophisticated were the code's family law provisions. Marriage contracts were required to be written, protecting both parties' rights. Women, while not equal to men, enjoyed significant legal protections. A wife could own property, conduct business, and even divorce an abusive husband. Law 142 stated that if a wife sought divorce, her case would be investigated, and if she was found blameless, she could take her dowry and return to her father's house. Inheritance laws showed similar complexity. Sons typically inherited equally, though a father could favor one through gifts during his lifetime. Daughters received dowries upon marriage, considered their inheritance share. Even children born to slave women could inherit if their father officially recognized them, a remarkably progressive stance for the time. The code's commercial laws reveal a sophisticated understanding of economic principles. Merchants, craftsmen, and farmers operated under detailed regulations governing everything from interest rates to quality controls. Law 104 required written contracts for commercial transactions, creating history's first system of commercial documentation. Consider the case of our merchant Iltani. Under the code, every transaction in her textile business required a proper contract. Law 105 stated, "If a merchant's agent loses the money he received from the merchant, he shall make good the sum that he lost." This protection of investment and clear assignment of responsibility helped create a stable commercial environment. The code's most dramatic provisions involved trial by ordeal, revealing how Babylonian law merged divine and secular justice. The river ordeal, mentioned in Law 2, seems barbaric to modern eyes, yet represented a sophisticated attempt to bring divine judgment into human courts. The accused who survived the river was deemed divinely protected, while those who drowned were judged guilty by the gods themselves. These ordeals rarely occurred in practice. Their very existence served as a deterrent to false accusations, as the accuser faced death if the accused survived. This system encouraged private settlement of disputes and careful consideration before bringing charges. To understand the code's practical impact, let us return to our merchant Iltani. Accused of shortchanging a noble customer, she faces a serious charge. Before the code, she might have faced arbitrary punishment based on her accuser's status. Now the law requires evidence. Weights and measures must be certified, contracts must be written, and witnesses must testify. The judge, consulting the carved laws, examines the evidence methodically. Iltani's meticulous records, kept according to the code's requirements, prove her innocence. Her accuser, having brought false charges, must pay a fine and faces public humiliation. This scenario demonstrates how the code created a framework for rational justice, replacing capricious authority with systematic law. The code's influence extended far beyond Babylon's borders. Its principles of written law, proportional punishment, and protection of property rights influenced legal systems from ancient Israel to Rome, and through them, modern Western law. The concept that law should be public, written, and uniformly enforced remains fundamental to modern justice systems. More than just a legal document, the Code of Hammurabi represents humanity's first comprehensive attempt to create a just society through law. Its vision of justice as a force for social stability, its protection of the weak against the strong, and its belief in proportional punishment continue to resonate in modern legal thinking. The Code of Hammurabi provides a fascinating window into ancient Babylonian society, revealing a highly sophisticated and stratified social system that was codified into law. The three-tiered social hierarchy was not merely administrative, but formed the fundamental framework through which justice was administered. Babylonian society was clearly divided into distinct social classes, each with its own rights and legal protections. At the top of this hierarchy were the Awilim, the upper class, which included nobles, priests, government officials, and wealthy merchants. These individuals enjoyed the highest level of protection under the law, receiving the greatest compensation for any injuries sustained. They also had the right to own property and participate in government affairs. Additionally, their testimony in legal proceedings carried more weight, being seen as more credible and influential in determining legal outcomes. Moving down the social structure, we find the mushkinim, the middle class, made up of craftsmen, merchants, and lower-ranking officials. While they received lesser compensation for injuries compared to the awilim, they still enjoyed significant legal protections. These individuals were vital to the economy, often forming the backbone of Babylonian commerce. Although their property rights were more restricted, they remained a crucial part of the social and economic fabric, contributing greatly to daily life. At the bottom of the hierarchy were the wardom, or slaves. Considered property rather than people under the law, the wardom had minimal rights, yet the Code of Hammurabi still provided some protections. In certain cases, they could own property, and it was possible for them to buy their freedom. Slaves could also marry free persons, although this came with specific legal implications, reflecting the complex nature of social and personal relationships in Babylonian society. The authority of the Code of Hammurabi was deeply rooted in religion. Hammurabi claimed to have received a divine mandate from Shamash, the sun god, which granted him the right to rule and establish laws. This claim is visually represented in the famous stele, where Hammurabi is depicted receiving the laws directly from Shamash. By presenting these laws as divine wisdom, rather than human invention, the code gained widespread acceptance and respect. This divine connection not only legitimized the laws themselves, but also solidified Hammurabi's rule as one sanctioned by the gods. Furthermore, the laws were closely intertwined with religious practices. Temple property and the rights of the priesthood were strictly protected under the law, and religious oaths were commonly used in legal disputes. Temples functioned as centers of both worship and legal administration, further reinforcing the inseparable bond between religion and law. Divine punishment was often invoked in addition to earthly penalties, underscoring the religious foundation of justice in Babylon. The Code of Hammurabi offers invaluable insights into the daily life of Babylonia. Professions, such as medicine, were meticulously regulated. For instance, there were detailed provisions concerning the fees for surgeons, with penalties imposed for unsuccessful operations. The code also outlined different rates for treating members of various social classes, reflecting the structured nature of Babylonian society. Similarly, strict regulations were applied to construction, where builders faced severe consequences, including the death penalty, for fatal structural failures. Commerce, too, was highly regulated, with laws governing interest rates, weights, and measures, as well as protections against fraudulent practices. Marriage was a highly regulated institution in Babylonian society. Women, despite the hierarchical nature of the society, had specific legal rights under the Code of Hammurabi. They could own property, engage in business, and under certain conditions, even initiate divorce. Additionally, women were entitled to inherit property, which provided them with some measure of financial security and independence, particularly in a male-dominated society. These regulations reveal a surprisingly complex legal framework governing family and gender relations, offering women a degree of legal agency. The Babylonian economy, as outlined in the code, was built on a foundation of fixed prices and standardized commercial practices. Wages for various professions were regulated, ensuring fairness in the workforce. Property rights were also safeguarded, protecting individuals from exploitation and maintaining social order. The Code of Hammurabi thus presents a well-organized and highly structured economic system that sought to balance the interests of different social groups while promoting stability in commerce and labor. Despite the hierarchical nature of Babylonian society, the Code of Hammurabi displayed remarkable features of social justice. Protective measures were put in place to prevent the abuse of power. For example, there were laws designed to protect widows and orphans, ensuring that they were not left vulnerable to exploitation. The code also included regulations that prevented the undue exploitation of the weak by the powerful, providing basic rights even to slaves, thus highlighting an early attempt at promoting equity within a stratified society. The principle of proportionality was another key aspect of the code. Punishments were often designed to symbolically match the crime, with different penalties imposed depending on the intent and circumstances of the offense. Social status also played a role in determining the severity of punishments, reflecting the deeply ingrained social hierarchy of Babylonian culture. However, this focus on proportionality shows an advanced understanding of justice, one that considered not only the crime but also the broader social context in which it occurred. The influence of the Code of Hammurabi extended far beyond its time. As one of the earliest examples of written law, it set a powerful precedent for future legal systems, not only in the Middle East but also in other parts of the world. The Code established the principle of written law, creating a framework that later civilizations would build upon. Many aspects of the Code of Hammurabi, such as the emphasis on proportionality and the protection of vulnerable populations, can be seen echoed in modern legal systems today. Culturally, the Code of Hammurabi offers us a window into ancient urban civilization. It reveals a society that was highly organized, with a sophisticated social structure, a complex economy, and an advanced understanding of justice. The Code provides invaluable insights into the daily lives, professions, and legal practices of ancient Babylonia, highlighting the importance of law and order in maintaining a stable and prosperous society. The Code of Hammurabi represents one of humanity's earliest attempts to create a comprehensive legal framework that integrated social, religious, and economic aspects of society. Its sophisticated understanding of social classes, combined with attempts to provide some measure of protection for all members of society, makes it a remarkable achievement for its time and an invaluable source for understanding ancient Mesopotamian civilization. Through this analysis, we can appreciate how the Code wasn't merely a legal document but a complex social contract that reflected and shaped Babylonian society, weaving together religious beliefs, social hierarchies, and practical governance in a way that would influence legal systems for millennia to come. Pause for a moment and reflect. Which aspect of this ancient civilization has surprised you the most so far? Share your opinion in the comments. And if you're enjoying this journey through time, don't forget to leave a like to support the channel. In the bustling streets of ancient Babylon, where the mighty Code of Hammurabi governed every aspect of life, we find the gripping tale of Arwium, a slave whose story illuminates the complexities of justice in this ancient civilization. Under the scorching Mesopotamian sun, Arwium stands before Judge Shamash Nasir in the grand courtyard of justice. His hands tremble, and beads of sweat roll down his forehead as his master, a wealthy merchant named Nursin, points an accusing finger at him. The charge is theft, a crime that carries the gravest of consequences for a slave. The cavernous courtroom falls silent as the scribe unrolls the clay tablet containing the relevant law from Hammurabi's code. In careful, measured tones he reads, "If the slave of a free man steals from another free man, the slave's owner must compensate 30 times the value of the stolen goods. Should the owner fail to pay, the slave shall forfeit his life." Arwium's heart pounds against his chest as he realizes the gravity of his situation. The stolen items, precious gems from his master's trading partner, would require a compensation far beyond what Nursin would be willing to pay. The air grows thick with tension as Arwium steps forward, his voice barely a whisper as he proclaims his innocence. Judge Shamash Nasir, bound by the rigid framework of the code, yet moved by the slave's passionate plea, orders a thorough investigation. Over the following days, the truth begins to unravel like a loose thread from a merchant's fine cloth. Witnesses come forward, speaking of suspicious activities around the merchant's household. The investigation reveals inconsistencies in the accusations. The dramatic turning point arrives when Ishbaera, another servant in Nursin's household, breaks under questioning. In a moment of high drama before the court, he confesses to the theft, revealing how he had planted evidence to implicate Arwium, hoping to eliminate a rival for their master's favor. Relief floods through the courtroom as Arwium's innocence is established. Yet, this brush with death leaves an indelible mark on his soul. He has witnessed firsthand both the power and the limitations of Hammurabi's code. While the system ultimately delivered justice, the rigid nature of the laws and the stark differences in how they treated different social classes leave him with a profound understanding of his precarious position in Babylonian society. This experience transforms Arwium. Though he remains a slave, he gains a deeper appreciation for the importance of truth and justice. He becomes known among his fellow slaves as one who understands the law, often sharing his experience as a cautionary tale about the weight of Hammurabi's code and its impact on their lives. The case of Arwium becomes a talking point in the marketplace, where merchants and slaves alike discuss the effectiveness of the new legal system. Some praise its thoroughness in uncovering the truth, while others point to the initial prejudice against a slave's word. The story spreads through the city, a testament to how the Code of Hammurabi, despite its harsh penalties and social stratification, brought a measure of protection even to the lowest members of society. Years later, elderly scribes would still recount the tale of Arwium to their apprentices, using it to illustrate the delicate balance between justice and mercy, between rigid law and human discretion. His story becomes a powerful reminder that even in a system of absolute laws, the truth has power to prevail. Through Arwium's narrative, we gain insight into how the Code of Hammurabi functioned not just as a set of laws, but as a living, breathing system that shaped the lives of everyone in Babylonian society, from the highest noble to the lowliest slave. His tale serves as a window into an ancient world where justice, though often harsh, was nevertheless pursued with determination and systematic precision. This narrative resonates across millennia, reminding us that the struggle for justice and truth remains a fundamental aspect of human society, whether in ancient Babylon or the modern world. The Code of Hammurabi stands as one of humanity's most significant legal achievements, whose influence resonates through the corridors of time to shape modern jurisprudence and social organization. This comprehensive analysis explores its lasting impact and continuing relevance. The Code established several fundamental legal concepts that remain crucial to modern law. The Code introduced the revolutionary concept that accusations must be proved, establishing an early version of innocent until proven guilty. This principle became a cornerstone of modern criminal justice systems worldwide. By inscribing laws on a public stele, Hammurabi established the crucial principle that laws should be accessible and knowable to all citizens. This transparency in legal matters represented a significant advancement in human governance. The Code's systematic approach to law created a framework for consistent judicial decisions, moving society away from arbitrary rulings based on individual whims. The Code of Hammurabi left a profound mark on later civilizations. One example is Roman law, where the concept of lex talionis, or eye for an eye, is strongly present. Property rights and contractual obligations were shaped by this ancient structure, as was the hierarchical system of legal rights, reflecting the Babylonian organization. Jewish law also shows notable parallels, especially in family laws and property protection measures, suggesting possible influence. The punitive structures in both systems bear striking similarities. In modern legal systems, there is a clear continuity. The existence of written constitutions, legal codes, and public promulgation of laws are directly inspired by similar principles found in the Code of Hammurabi. Additionally, the structured judicial systems we see today echo the framework of Hammurabi's laws. The discovery of the Code stele in 1901 by French archaeologists in Susa was a landmark moment for understanding ancient Mesopotamian civilization. The nearly complete preservation of the text allowed for detailed study of its laws and structure. The stele also reveals important artistic elements, such as Hammurabi depicted receiving the laws directly from Shamash, symbolizing divine authority. This discovery also showed that the Code was valued as a war trophy. Modern scientific analysis has uncovered details about ancient writing techniques, the material composition of the stele, and evidence of its movement throughout history, further reinforcing the cultural and political significance of the Code. The discovery location in Susa, a conquered city, suggests ancient patterns of warfare and cultural exchange in the Near East. The Code of Hammurabi continues to provoke thought in the realm of legal philosophy, raising questions about the relationship between law and justice, proportionality and punishment, and the balance between deterrence and rehabilitation, topics that remain central in today's legal systems. In terms of social justice, modern debates such as equal protection under the law, the rights of social classes, and access to justice resonate with issues addressed in the Code. Moreover, the Code is still relevant in discussions about religious and secular authority, providing insight into topics like the separation of church and state, divine versus human authority, and the use of religion to legitimize legal power. The Code of Hammurabi maintains its value as both an educational tool and a subject of research. It serves as an essential resource for teaching legal history, standing as one of the earliest examples of written law, and offering a window into ancient society. The Code continues to be a rich source for scholars, who use modern technologies to reinterpret its text. These analyses reveal connections with other ancient legal systems and provide new insights into societal development. Culturally, the Code's influence appears in literary references, artistic representations, and popular understanding of justice, solidifying its role as a symbol of law, order, and power. The principles of the Code of Hammurabi continue to inform discussions about legal reform. Issues such as transparency in the legal system, access to justice, and the standardization of laws are topics where its influence can be felt. In terms of social policy, the Code is relevant in areas like property rights, family law, and professional regulations. Additionally, its ideas echo in international law, influencing universal legal principles, human rights concepts, and the structure of international justice systems. This enduring relevance showcases how the foundational ideas of Hammurabi's Code continue to shape civilization. The Code of Hammurabi is a cornerstone in the evolution of legal thought. Historically, it demonstrates the development of systematic law, the evolution of social justice concepts, and the growth of state authority. Contemporary analysis of the code, particularly by scholars, explores its historical context and its influence on subsequent legal systems. Academics compare its legal development with that of other civilizations, identifying enduring principles that continue to shape modern law. In terms of future implications, the code still serves as a reference point for the development of modern legal systems, social justice reforms, and constitutional principles. Preserving the Code of Hammurabi remains a priority for archaeologists and historians. Ongoing efforts include the physical conservation of the original stele and digital documentation, allowing for detailed study of its archaeological context. Academic research focuses on translation refinements, historical context, and comparative analyses with other legal systems. Moreover, educational initiatives, such as museum exhibitions, academic programs, and public outreach activities, ensure that the legacy of the Code of Hammurabi continues to be studied and understood by future generations, solidifying its position as one of the most important milestones in legal history. The Code of Hammurabi's legacy extends far beyond its original context, providing valuable insights into legal development and social organization. Its principles continue to influence modern legal thought and practice, while its study offers important lessons for contemporary society. As we face new challenges in law and justice, the Code remains a testament to humanity's enduring quest for order, justice, and social harmony through law. The Code of Hammurabi stands as a monumental achievement in human civilization, marking a pivotal transition from arbitrary justice to codified law. This comprehensive reflection explores its significance and lasting impact on human society. The implementation of the Code of Hammurabi marked a transformative moment in human civilization. For the first time in recorded history, a complex society established a comprehensive, written legal framework that applied to all its members, from the highest officials to the lowliest slaves. This revolutionary concept established several fundamental principles. The Code of Hammurabi introduced a groundbreaking principle, the idea that even rulers should be bound by established laws rather than their own whims. This was a radical shift for its time and laid the groundwork for the legal frameworks we see in modern democratic societies and constitutional governments. The notion that no one is above the law, whether they are a common citizen or a king, remains one of the cornerstones of modern legal systems worldwide. The Code's contribution to this principle cannot be overstated, as it set a precedent for how justice should be administered equally and consistently across all levels of society. By codifying laws and punishments, Hammurabi's Code introduced a level of predictability and consistency in legal matters that had not been seen before. This reduced the risk of arbitrary judgments and helped establish precedent-based justice, where decisions were grounded in written laws rather than individual interpretation. Another key aspect of the Code was its public accessibility. The physical display of the laws in public spaces meant that citizens were made aware of the rules they lived by. This transparency democratized legal knowledge and established a principle that endures to this day: laws should be accessible and comprehensible to all citizens, regardless of their status or education. Upon closer examination, the Code of Hammurabi reveals several universal principles that continue to resonate within modern jurisprudence. First, the Code sought to achieve justice and fairness, with procedures designed to ensure proportionate punishments for crimes. Though its penalties might seem harsh by today's standards, the intent was to create fair responses to violations of the law. Another enduring value was the protection of the weak. The Code included provisions for the welfare of widows, orphans, and the poor, marking an early recognition of social responsibility. The regulation of contracts, wages, and prices further demonstrates an understanding of economic justice, aiming to stabilize the economy and prevent exploitation, themes that are still highly relevant today. The principles embedded in the Code of Hammurabi continue to shape contemporary discussions around law and society. Legal reform, for instance, often revolves around themes of fairness, consistency, and accessibility, concerns that were just as prominent in ancient Babylon. In discussions about social equality, the question of whether all individuals are truly protected equally under the law remains as pressing today as it was in Hammurabi's time. Even in modern professional accountability, we see echoes of the Code's principles, particularly in areas such as professional liability laws for builders and physicians. The need for responsible and accountable professionals in high-stakes fields is a concept that has transcended centuries, showing the lasting impact of Hammurabi's regulations. Looking to the future, the Code of Hammurabi prompts several important considerations about the evolution of legal systems. First, it raises questions about how future societies will judge our current legal systems and moral standards. Will they view today's laws as just, or will they seem outdated in the face of future values? Additionally, the code challenges us to think about universal values, those fundamental principles of justice that transcend time and culture. As our world changes, the tension between maintaining legal stability and adapting to new social values will likely intensify, just as it has throughout history. Hammurabi's code offers a roadmap for how societies can evolve while keeping core principles of justice intact. The Code of Hammurabi teaches us several enduring lessons that continue to be relevant today. One of the most important is the value of a systematic approach to law. The comprehensiveness of Hammurabi's code demonstrates the importance of having an organized legal framework to ensure fairness and consistency. Another critical takeaway is the idea of social responsibility, that laws must not only maintain order but also serve social justice by protecting the most vulnerable members of society. Finally, the practice of publicly displaying legal principles highlights the significance of documentary evidence and the need for transparency in governance. Modern societies can glean several valuable lessons from the ancient Code of Hammurabi. Transparency remains as essential today as it was in ancient Babylon. Laws should be accessible and understandable to all citizens to ensure justice. Equally important is consistency in applying laws across different social groups, ensuring that justice is not selective or biased. Lastly, the code underscores the need for social protection, a principle that resonates in modern legal frameworks, which seek to safeguard the vulnerable through structured protections, whether in areas like welfare, labor rights, or civil liberties. As we look ahead, several key questions emerge from the lessons of the code. Legal evolution is one of them. How will our legal systems adapt to address new technological, environmental, and social challenges? The rapid pace of societal change forces us to reconsider the principles of justice that have guided us for millennia. Another pressing question is how to define universal justice in an increasingly globalized world. As society continues to develop, it becomes crucial to find the timeless principles that should guide our collective progress while ensuring that these values remain relevant in an ever-changing world. The Code of Hammurabi represents more than just an ancient legal document. It stands as a testament to humanity's enduring quest for justice, order, and social harmony. Its principles continue to resonate across millennia, reminding us that the fundamental questions of justice, fairness, and social responsibility remain constant throughout human history. As we face new challenges in our rapidly evolving world, the code serves as both a foundation and a mirror, helping us understand where we came from and prompting us to consider where we are going. Its study reveals not just the development of legal systems, but the evolution of human society's understanding of justice, equality, and social responsibility. The code's greatest legacy may be its demonstration that human societies, despite their differences across time and space, share common aspirations for justice, order, and protection of their members. As we continue to develop and refine our own legal systems, we would do well to remember the innovative spirit and comprehensive vision that produced this remarkable achievement 4 millennia ago. And so we come to the end of another incredible journey through ancient history. If you enjoyed this journey through time to ancient Babylon, don't forget to like, share this video with friends who also love history, and comment on which aspect of Hammurabi's code surprised you the most. And to ensure you don't miss any of our future explorations into the past, be sure to subscribe to the Legacy of Empires channel and turn on notifications. Together, let's continue unraveling the great mysteries. Civilizations.